Aloha, everyone, and welcome to the 40th Annual Hawaii International Film Festival presented by Halekulani. And this evening's discussion of Film for Thought, discussion in conversation with director Pawo Choyning Dorji and scholar Simon Tajri. This is the director of the beautiful, beautiful film as part of our Film for Thought program, Lunana, a Yak in the Classroom. My name is Anna Page. I'm the director of programming at the festival, and I'm really honored to present this talk to you this evening. This film, again, is part of our Film for Thought program with presented by the Hawaii Council for the Humanities. We have a lineup of 5 incredible films as part of this program, and 4 wonderful, engaging discussions that will be presented this week as part of the program as well. So just a few housekeeping bits, and then I'm going to introduce Aiko Yamashiro from the Hawaii Council of the Humanities to say a few words. First of all, there is also, in addition to this talk, a companion essay for this film written by scholar Simon Tajri, and you can access that on our HIFF40 Spotlight programs page if you go to the Film for Thought page. It's also on our blog, and you can find it directly on the film listing page for Lunana, a Yak in the Classroom as well. Also, this film is nominated for our HIFF Audience Award. We are still doing the Audience Award this year. So if you would like to vote, you can go to HawaiiNewsNow/HIFF to vote for your favorite film. And last but not least, before I go, I do want to give another mahalo to all of our HIFF sponsors, our members, and our board of directors here at HIFF. And just a last little plug before we go, we are hosting our HIFF40 for 40 fundraising campaign this year. So if you love HIFF and you want to keep it going for many more years, please consider a donation to our 40 for 40 campaign this year. You can find that information on HIFF.org. I think that's it from me. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Aiko Yamashiro from the Hawaii Council for the Humanities.
Aloha, everybody. Aloha to you from wherever you're tuning in from. I know we have folks tuning in from all over Hawaii, but also all over the world. And we're so happy to be here to support HIFF and your 40th birthday and 40 years of bringing community together to watch amazing films and to talk about them together. Our thanks to you, Anna, and to the rest of the HIFF team, and our thanks to the Hawaii Council for the Humanities team as well, who helped to make today possible, in particular Liz Soto and Shannon Cristobal. Thank you very much. This Film for Thought program is something that we're so proud of. We're so proud to partner on and participate in. And to me, one of the central premises of Film for Thought is that it matters to not just watch these films, but when we can come together to talk about them. And what happens to us when we do that? What happens when we can enter into someone else's story with depth and with compassion? And today we're going to be able to have a conversation that lets us in a little bit deeper into Lunana, a Yak in the Classroom, which is a wonderful film if you haven't seen it yet. I know it's on your list. And what we wrote about it is it ponders the question of happiness and offers a tension between material success and yak dung, and does so with a lot of heart. And this theme feels really important in this time that we're all in right now, in this time of inconceivable change, this theme of how do we move forward together into a future we really want when we're surrounded by change, a lot of change swirling around us. And I think this film and this conversation is gonna remind us that we can do it when we bring our full human selves to that, and when we bring our full hearts to that kind of question. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation today. So our conversation tonight, as part of Film for Thought, it spans Bhutan to Lanai via the magic of film, the magic of film festivals, and the magic of storytelling. I'm going to say just a couple words about our 2 speakers today. Pawo Choyning Dorji is our filmmaker, is a photographer from the Kingdom of Bhutan, who's really dedicated to telling stories that may be forgotten, I think, about different cultures, about different spiritual practices and traditions. And this film, Lunana, a Yak in the Classroom, is his directorial debut. Congratulations. I think you guys are going to talk about it a little bit, but not only is it a beautiful film, but it was solar powered, shot in location, and has won a number of awards and recognition for for what it's achieved, including Audience Choice Award for Best Feature Film, Best of the Fest Award at the 2020 Palm Springs International Film Festival, and has become Bhutan's only second submission to the 2021 Academy Awards. So doing a lot of work. And in Hawaii, we know the power of what it means to tell stories from our own communities and the responsibility of that. And together with Pawo, we have Simon Seisho Tajri, who belongs to Lanai as a student and as a teacher of Hawaiian language and cultural wisdom, also as a musician, a photographer, poet, and filmmaker himself. Simon is always so hungry to tell complex stories, important stories about who we are becoming, and brings just so much life and fun and creativity to that. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation between two such thoughtful people. I know that we all have a lot to learn from Bhutan and from Lanai about how we navigate huge change and how we hold on to what and who we really value, and just the power of art and creativity in that journey. So thanks to you both for being a part of this program and for sharing and speaking today. And I want to remind the audience, all of you who've joined us, what we're going to do is we're going to have a great conversation between these two. And they're going to get into it and see what happens. But we invite you to participate in the chat and bring your own stories and go ahead and comment or heart or like or whatever you're able to do in your different platforms, as well as throw in questions, because they'll be able to take that a little bit towards the end. Hopefully we can all feel that spark of new connections and a broadened understanding of us. Okay, mahalo nui everyone, and I'll leave it to you folks.
Thank you so much.
Mahalo, Aiko. Thank you, Anna. Pawo, welcome. You know, if we were in person, here in Hawaii, I would have a lei for you, but it's just with the voice. I want to say from the mist of Lanai Hale to the purple lehu of Keahi Kavelo, from Lanai of the lei Kaunaoa, aloha. So, welcome.
Aloha. Thank you so much. Thank you for including my film in your festival, and it's very nice to connect with everyone, even though it's virtually. It's an honor for me.
The honor is all ours. I was thinking maybe I would start out with a quote from the film. Of course, it's in English, but there's a scene where the village headman, is it Asha?
Aja, yeah.
Aja. He says, he's talking to the main character, and he says, you know, with all of your education and everything that you can offer to our country, it baffles me that you would be looking elsewhere for happiness. And with that, I wanted to start out with just an open question of why Lunana? Why that very small place in that very remote part of the world?
Well, you know, I've traveled around a lot, and every time I meet people from different countries, different cultures, the moment I tell them that I'm from Bhutan, the next thing they tell me is, oh, you must be a very, very happy person. And it's something so beautiful, I think, because, you know, our country, we have something called gross national happiness. And it was first coined by our fourth king when he was coronated, and he said that we will work not to be a rich country, but we will work to be a happy country. You know, and I think that's a very beautiful thought. And of course, the term happiness has become synonymous with Bhutan. That's why everyone thinks we are all happy people. But also what happens is, you know, people start having these conceptions of what happiness is. And with Lunana Ayak in the classroom, I really wanted to question that, you know, what is really happiness? Because, you know, if you talk about Bhutan in the 1980s, 1990s, we were closed down, you know, we only opened up to the outside world in the 2000s. With television, internet. Before that, we were very closed up. And you could say that, in a way, you know, ignorance is bliss, you know. There was this sense of contentment based on our Buddhist cultures and spiritual traditions. But as we opened up, we kind of started having a reference, you know. We started seeing what is beyond our snowy peaks outside. And when that happened, the question of happiness, the foundations of, you could say, gross national happiness started shaking. because suddenly you have references and you see people, you turn on the television and you see what life is in other countries. And when that happens, I feel like a lot of the people, their happiness, their version of what is to be happy is fueled by, foreign cultures, foreign traditions. And for me, when I was making this film, I really felt like, Bhutan is at a crossroads now. People like me, my generation, when we talk about happiness, it is always to do with the materialistic world, which I feel is represented by the light, and our Bhutanese traditions, our culture is kind of, I would say, if you compare it to modern traditions, like the shadows. And as of now, there are so many Bhutanese who supposedly we are from the happy country, but who embarks on journeys seeking out their own happiness, in the glittering lights of the urban Western world. And with Lunana, with this movie, what I wanted to do was I really wanted to tell a story. What if we take this modern Bhutanese, and instead of taking him to the light, why don't we take him to the most remote, the most traditional place in Bhutan, and that is Lunana. And even the word Lunana in our language, it means the dark valley, because it's considered so backward, so far. And I wanted to explore if we could find what he seeks in the light, in the shadow. And I think for those who have seen the movie, you know how it ends, and it's the message is really through the experience of the shadow. I feel we can then truly appreciate what light is, and that was what I wanted to do. And even like the village itself, the little tiny village Lunana, I feel like it's almost one of the characters of the movie. We have Uyen, Salden, Pemzam, all that, but then the village itself, it really personifies the cultural traditions, the spirituality, the sense of contentment that is the foundations of Bhutanese traditions and cultures. And I wanted to, bring that on the screen.
You set that up really well in the opening of the film. The first words we hear is from the grandmother, who is very traditional, and she says, "Wake up, my child." We meet Ugen, and he's reversed. At night he runs around like a wild horse, and in the daytime, he's like a pig. And so his sense of the light and the dark, of day and night, is kind of, and that's really thought-provoking that he would have to go into the dark valley to wake up. Did you have experience with Lunana before, or was this something you researched as you were writing the film?
Well, I wanted a remote place. That when I wrote the script for the first time, I really wanted a very, very remote place. And of course, when you make films, like from the production standpoint, even the cast, the crew, they're always like, "Oh, if it's more than 15 minutes walk, we don't want to do it." Well, that challenge is there. So I visited several remote villages that are considered remote in Bhutan. And whenever I went to these villages, I didn't feel like that was it. And I kept asking, I want something more remote, more remote. And finally, I got to this village called Laya, which is on the foothills of Lunana. And that is about 9 hours walk from the nearest road. And still considered very, very remote. And it's all full of yak herders. And I went there full of hope, thinking this was it. And when I went there, I was like, no, this is not it. I don't think, it has to be more remote. And sadly, that is the reach of modernization and globalization now. It's very difficult to find a remote place even in Bhutan. And finally, people said, well, then the most remote place for you would be Lunana. And Simon, with the Bhutanese, when we say Lunana, it almost has like a mythical. It brings about a lot of myth and legend because it's so far that nobody has even seen it. So we said, okay, fine, we're going to shoot it in Lunana. And when we decided that, of course, there was a lot of production challenges. How do you make a film in a village that is 10 days away from the nearest road? How do you transport things? So there was a lot of challenges. But I was really inspired by my king. In his speeches, he always says it's not a question of being able to do it or not. It's a question of doing it or not doing it. And I thought, okay, then, let's just do it. And when we started making the film, I actually, in our first crew and cast meeting, I told my crew that actually I have I really don't know if this film can be made, because that's how daunting the challenge is in front of us. I don't know if we can truly make this film, but when we go up there, I think it's very important to have this mindset that we are not going up there to make a film, but we are going up there to, all of us are embarking on the same journey as Ugyen, We are going into this part and let's see what we discover. Here's a once in a lifetime opportunity to go into one of the most remote places on earth, live there, live with the locals, live their life, and let's see what that teaches us about our culture, our traditions, and hopefully at the end, the bonus is that we'll have a film to share with the world. So in the end, I think it turned out quite well.
Yeah, to say the least. What was the impact like? I like that parallel with Ugyen because he goes in as a teacher, but I think he's really the one who learns from the place.
Yes.
And for your film crew to descend upon a town of 56, is it 56 people?
50, I think 55, yeah.
What was that impact like?
It was.
You and had they ever seen it
on us?
Before? Yeah. Oh well, both ways. How did it affect the people there? And
it was actually really taking a step back and going back to the basics of life, because Simon, even though me and the rest of our crew and cast, we are from the city, which is Thimphu, compared to the rest of the world, we are still very we are hardy, we can do things, we can rough it up. But going to Lunana, it's almost you're going back in time. Like I said, there is no electricity there. There is no telephone connection. And how does a modern person go back and live in a place like that, And we were there for over 2.5 months. And there's no beds, there's no beds, there's no electricity, there's no concept of shower. So most of us got by for 2.5 months, working every day, shooting a feature film. And we took only one shower in 2.5 months. And but then there's also so much beauty that we can learn from the people up there, because Simon, they have the choice. They can actually leave Lunana if they want. No one is forcing them there. If they want, they can just walk down the mountain and they can settle in a more modern, easier place to live. But there's almost this is where I belong. I'm born of the mountains. I belong here, and I know what the world is like out there, but I'm very content here. So I think for all of us, crew cast, all of us went on the same journey as Ugyen. And yes, all of us did leave Lunana, but it's changed the way we look at our culture and our traditions. We are more appreciative.
I thought you did such a wonderful job of communicating that purity or that almost innocence of the place. And what you're talking about reminded me of the story that Ugyen tells about the yak, how he finally arrived there. He just loved the salt, he loved the grass, and he just wanted to stay there. And how that was actually an image of pure-heartedness.
Yeah.
There was one image that I thought really captured that, where I was it's just the father's bare feet covered with mud, and then it's a child right in front with these bright pink, or was it blue? Rain boots.
Yeah.
That juxtaposition of here's the innocence of a child, and then the innocence of having no shoes. and that kind of collision of like the modernization and this old school value. Like, could you say more about like where did you get those stories from? Like, where did those images come from?
Simon, as Anna was introducing me that time, this is my first film as a director, but I'm an avid lover of stories, and I take my camera, my notebook, and I travel everywhere I can go to capture stories and images. And, it's taken me to some amazing places. Like, I went into the most remotest parts of Afghanistan and the high mountains of Pakistan in search of stories and images. And even in Bhutan, I traveled in many different places, in all different corners, high mountains. And Lunana, a yak in the classroom, is actually the coming together of all these different stories, individuals and characters and stories that I encountered in my travels. And that scene that you were talking about the boots, in a way, actually, Ugyen is mirroring my own journey as I discover what my country is, And that actually happened when I was, trekking in remote eastern Bhutan. And I was hiking for almost 4 days, and I had reached the border between Tibet and Bhutan, and we were on this high mountain pass, and I had my head pounding with altitude sickness because it was so high. It had been raining for 3 days, and we were hosted by this yak herding family, and they're nomads. They don't belong to Bhutan or Tibet. They just live on this mountain top, they go different places. And when I was hosted there, this father gave me warm yak milk, and while I was drinking that, I had like the most like high-tech Gore-Tex hiking boots. And I was watching this man, and he was barefoot, and he was like running around in the mud, in the snow, in the ice. And I remember asking him, I was like, wow, I'm here like so cold and protecting my feet, and here you are totally barefoot. Don't you need shoes? And he said, oh, no, I feel more comfortable like this. And plus, I need to spend my money on more, the necessities of life. And Simon, it was just so amazing, because just as he said that, just like in the movie, this little child who could barely walk came and stood in front of him. And then it was these cute little red rain boots, And it just struck me, because the father's feet had all these cuts, these cracks, calluses, and really, you could see the sacrifices that he was making to provide for his family. And that image had stayed in my heart, and when we decided to make Lunana, I said, okay, we have to put this image in honor of all the sacrifices that parents make, and to really, not only show the Bhutanese, but also the world, what it really means to be a parent. But not only that, Simon, every aspect of the film, I've tried to get inspiration from true stories, from reality.
Is that kind of the reason behind your casting non-actors?
Well, that, actually, Simon, I don't really have a choice, because in Bhutan, we don't really have professionally trained actors. So, even when I write scripts, there's always in the back of my mind, like I might write this really complex scene with like really interesting characters, but in the back of my mind, I'm always like, how am I going to find a Bhutanese who can pull this off, So like with Lunana, what we did was we wrote out the script, then we actually went looking for people whose real lives actually mirrored those of the characters. So, for example, the Sherab Doji, who plays Ugyen, the teacher, he's actually a musician in Bhutan, and arts and creativity is not it's thriving in Bhutan, but we don't really have you could say the market where you can build on. And Sherab is a struggling musician, you could say, and he dropped out of high school to pursue a career in music, and he's actually dreaming of going to Australia, as are most Bhutanese youth. And I thought his life totally mirrored Ugyen's, and I was like, this is great. So, and even like when we went up to Lunana, I didn't want to cast children from the city because then the purity is gone. So we casted the children from Lunana who had never seen a movie. They had never been out of their village. And then we wrote, like, for example, Pemzam. When I first met Pemzam, like this little girl, she comes up to me when I went location hunting in Lunana, and she comes up to me and she says, full of confidence, she's like, I heard you're going to make a movie. And I said, yeah. And she's like, do you need an actress? And I said, yeah, I do. And she's like, well, I'm the one. Then I said, what can you do? And then she performed for me. And I was so like, I was like, this is it. We have found our gem here. So I told her, I said, I want to cast you, but I want to meet your parents first. Only then, after getting the permission from your parents, I'll cast you. But when she came with her parents, she brought her grandmother who could hardly walk. So then I told the grandmother, I said, actually, I want to meet her parents. And then the grandmother said, well, she doesn't have a mother. And her father, my son, is actually the drunk of the village. And he's always drunk. And it was 8 a.m. And she's like, he's so drunk right now, he can barely get out of bed. So then I was so inspired by Pemzam because, she's having this really, really hard, harsh life. Yet she has her purity and her this true beauty of her characters coming out. And when I casted her, I didn't want her to pretend to be someone that I created, out of fiction. Basically, then I wrote her real life into the script. And during the scenes when we were, rehearsing, when we were shooting, I told her, I was like, you don't have to pretend to be anyone else. Tell us your life story. And that's what she was doing. And I think that's how it came out so beautifully. Like, for example, in the scene when the teacher's leaving the school, I actually told her, because, Simon, for a person like Pemzam, for a girl like Pemzam, with the life she has, her only source of refuge is her school teacher who's up there, the actual school teacher. And I think as an educator yourself, you will understand the important role educators play in the lives of, your students. So for someone like Pemzam, that was it, for her life, her beacon of hope, love, guidance is her teacher. So when we were shooting the last scene of that scene when the teacher's leaving the village, I actually told her, I said, now this is your most important scene. And I don't want you to think that it is, Ugen, who's Sherab, who's leaving the village. I want you to think that it is your actual school teacher. And that's a little bit mean of me, but I told her, I was like, it's your only hope, your only source of love that's going to leave. What are you going to do? And when we shot that scene, where she tears up, that is all real, 100%. Like, it's not like she acted it up. That was how it came out. And I think, of course, like I was saying earlier, there is challenges in using first-time actors. But there's so much beauty and purity you can get if you can tap it the right way. Like, for example, the scene where, the children brush their teeth. That was the first time they were tasting toothpaste in their lives. And because talking to them, I asked them and they said they had never brushed their teeth. But, we don't have candy and or soda drinks up there. So in a way, their teeth is still very clean. So I thought, wow, what if we can capture the first time they taste toothpaste? How magical is that?
Oh, so some of it was creating the story as you went along.
Yeah. Oh.
We're about getting close to the time for Q&A. Before we close up, I wanted to ask if you could share that story about the snow lion, because I thought that was really kind of central to the theme of what you're maybe trying to preserve. Like, it really sounds like in your travels and going to Lunana, you were looking for the spirit or the heart of your country.
I think with Bhutan and a lot of cultures and traditions that are ancient, or I'm looking at the old one, maybe even in the Hawaiian traditions, myth and legends play such an important role in our society. And even that's just the same thing in Bhutan. And as I was saying earlier, these myth and legends are now in this modern world kind of shunned upon as like being backward, you know. Like I said, going back to the analogy of the shadow, it's like that. And the more educated we get, you know, it's almost like we believe in the idea of like 2 + 2 is 4. You know, we're stuck in that box. We don't want to, if it doesn't sound reasonable, we don't want to believe in it. There's a saying in Buddhist culture. It says that man's greatest downfall is his unwillingness to believe in unbelievable things and his overwillingness to believe in believable things. And that is what is happening in Bhutan. A lot of our cultures and traditions are rooted in myths and legends, but as we become more educated, we kind of like, that's not possible. But even with the snow lion, that actual scene, again, it happened to me while I was traveling in Bhutan. You know, this uneducated yak herder who was my guide looked up at these mountains and he said, oh, you know, these mountains were all covered in snow, but now it's all melting. You know, every year the snow line is receding. And I was telling him, I was like, well, that's something called global warming. And he said something so beautiful when I said that. And he said, well, for me, I believe that snow is required by the snow lion. And if the snow is melting, my worry is that the snow lion will disappear from our world. And you know, Simon, the thing is, as I was saying, myth and legend, in Bhutan, we have the dragon, the Garuda, which is half man, half bird, and then the snow lion. And the snow lion is also mythical. It's a white lion with a blue mane. And these animals don't exist, but they're mythical, but then in a way, they represent the enlightened, awakened mind, you know. So we believe that, for example, for there to be the dragon needs the clouds in order to fly. If there's no clouds, he will not be able to fly. Similarly, for the snow lion to be present, you need the snow and ice. So in a way, this traditional, uneducated yak herder was telling me, you know, an educated man who has seen the world, who is stuck in his 2 + 2 is 4, that because of overconsumption, because of greed, in a way, the awakened mind, you know, the heart of enlightenment is disappearing from our world. And I was so struck by that. And then I thought, in a way, that particular scene really captures everything that Bhutan is going through, our challenges as you know, we strive to be a modern country, but also in a way trying to preserve our cultures and traditions.
Yeah, there's a really beautiful piece of poetry in the film about the cup, like milk in a porcelain cup. The milk is so pure, is so pure that even if the cup breaks, it is still milk, and so is the heart of a pure person. I have a question about that regarding Ugin, but I just wanted to ask the audience if you guys had any questions. Please go ahead and drop it in the question and answer box, and I can go ahead and read those questions off and can explore you guys' ideas too. But so Ugin, in the beginning of the film, he's sorry to say, he's kind of a jerk. Like they offered him all this hospitality. His grandma is so sweet and kind to him, and he kind of just brushes all of them off. And his eyes is so fixed on going to Australia. But at the end, you see a complete reversal, and where before he was kind of holding on to that brochure of Australia as like the prize he wanted to go to. In the end, he's on Australia, and he has I'm guessing it's the song.
Yeah, the lyrics.
And on the brochure. So is whatever the snow lion is, whatever that purity or innocence or the milk that doesn't spoil, that doesn't change. It seems like Ugin was transformed by that. Like he tasted some of that in Lunana.
Yeah.
And I wonder if he was able to bring some of that with him. It kind of goes in line with the question too of how you guys were changed by the place or affected by the place. Because it would be sad if the snow lion did disappear.
Yes. Well, I think it also goes with the choice of how we ended the movie, right? Because I think for those who haven't watched it, it might be a spoiler, but the fact that Ugyen does leave Lunana and he goes to Australia, Simon, actually, a lot of people, especially the children. Like I just got a message from someone who watched the film in Germany because it's screening there as well. And then this German audience was telling me that her child was bawling at the end of the movie because he was so sad that the teacher had left. And of course, in Bhutan as well, a lot of people say, "Oh, why did you do this to us? He has to return." But
It's unexpected, yeah.
Yeah, in a way, what I wanted to do was that change is something that it's inevitable. It's going to happen, and as we were discussing before we started this session, the roads are coming to Lunana as well. Modernization, urban world is knocking on the doors, and change will happen. And I feel like, again, going back to Buddhist sayings, there's a saying that says that trying to stop these things would be like trying to stop the flow of a river by building a dam of water. But so with the ending, I actually wanted to send a message that the inner change is the most important. Physically, we won't be able to control what is happening, but the cup may break, but the milk will continue to be milk. It will flow as milk only. So I think it's important, irrespective of Bhutanese or Hawaiian or anywhere across the world, to always have that purity in you.
Yeah, it's definitely something we're facing here in Hawaii, like where the language is almost lost, and the culture, so much of the culture is just fragmented. And like now, like the native people, and then even us as people coming from Asia and different various backgrounds, we have to dig deep and try and find what is that thing that is really us, that isn't what America teaches us to be, and what is that thing that we can still retain and carry with us from our ancestors to us.
Yes, Simon, actually, as I was telling you earlier, as I was leaving Lunana after we made the film, 3G got there. So as I was leaving, the telecom people, building their towers came, and now I'm actually more in touch with the people in Lunana than I was before the film, and a lot of them send me videos and all that. And Pemzam is becoming very active on TikTok. And in a way, that's very sweet, right? But in a way, there's a part of me that is really sad, because with all this coming in, with modernization coming in, then that purity, as I keep going back to, is getting lost, Simon, when I was in Lunana, they told me this really amazing story that in the winter, it gets so cold. And these people, they don't have warm socks, they don't have shoes. And they said that sometimes when a yak, poos and the dung drops, what people in Lunana do is they quickly run to the poo and they stick their feet into the poo. Because as the fresh poo comes out of the yak, it's warm and steamy. And, it's some people might find it disgusting, but I think that is such a pure story. But now I doubt in the coming years there will be any people in Lunana sticking their feet into fresh poop.
So if you meet a child with yak dung on his feet, then you know, oh, this is a pure-hearted child.
Yeah, you could say that.
So yeah, once again, so audience, if you guys have questions, please drop them in the Q&A box. But I feel like we could talk about this for hours, and I'm sure there's so many stories that you have and is just waiting for another film because you couldn't fit it into this one.
Yes. Actually, I've been watching with a lot of, how would I say, concern. This is again the modern world we live in. I'm a Bhutanese. I'm not an American. I have no vote, but it's just I have so much concern over your elections. But this is the modern world, right? I've had sleepless nights, waiting to see the elections. And actually, watching the election, I've been also working on my new script, which is to do with elections in Bhutan. Because just as I was saying, as the country opens up, we are like striving to be modern. In Bhutan, what's happening is we felt like, okay, to fit into this modern world, we must be democratic. So Bhutan became a democracy in 2007. And it was a very, very beautiful thing, because we had a king that was loved by everyone, and he was stepping down, and everyone was begging him, please don't step down. We want you to rule us. We don't want to be democratic. But then the king is saying, oh no, you have to be democratic. These are modern times. So Bhutan was very reluctant to become a democracy. And I was seeing that, because if you look at history, I don't think there's been any country that became democratic without a revolution, right? There's always revolution, sacrifice, war, bloodshed to get that right. But in Bhutan, it was the other way around. They were like, no, we don't want to be democratic. Please, rule over us. And becoming like that, I think these are stories which, if we don't tell now, will be forgotten.
Well, thank you for telling that story, and looking forward to hearing that one. We have a question from Facebook. Was it your intention in the ending to show that Ugyen regrets his decision to go to Australia?
I wouldn't say it's regretting. I feel like it's more to do with he made a choice to chase his dream. But at the end, the fact that he still sings Lunana is he's had the courage to chase his dream. But as I keep going back to, the inner change has happened, because from singing Credence Clearwater, all that, he has opted to sing the Yak song at the end.
We have another question from the wonderful Jeanette Hernickel. Could you please tell the story of Pawo Choyning Dorj? Where was he born and raised? Did he leave his home for his education? Where does he live now? Obviously, he's in touch with his roots, and I'm interested to know how he negotiates changes he's had to make in his life and work to reach universal audiences in all parts of the world.
I actually have a very interesting story, because right now a lot of people they go through the journey like Ugyen. They're born in Bhutan, they grew up in Bhutan, and as they grow up, they have this curiosity to see what is beyond Bhutan, and that drives them. But for me, it was the other way around. When I was born, my parents were very, worried about the medical conditions in Bhutan, because it was in the 80s, and they felt safer maybe if they went to give birth in India. So I was born in Darjeeling amongst all the tea. So I'm an avid tea lover, I think because of that. I was born in the middle of a tea plantation in Darjeeling, and my father is a diplomat. So because of that, I traveled around a lot. I think we all hate new student in school situations. I had that 10 times before I finished my high school. So every year I was going to new schools and different schools. I studied in a school like the school in Lunana when I was a little boy, and I was the only boy in the entire school who had a pair of shoes. And because of that, I was the most popular boy. Everyone wanted to be friends with me. But also because of my father's work, I studied in the Middle East. I studied in South India. I studied in the main high school in Bhutan. But and for my undergrad, interestingly, I ended up in Wisconsin, of all places. So, it's very interesting, Simon, because when I first went to Wisconsin, people said, why are you going to Wisconsin? And I said, well, this university accepted me with a lot of aid, financial aid. So it's called Lawrence University, and it's a very, very beautiful liberal arts college. So I think one of it really shaped me into who I became. So when I went there, they told me, oh, it snows a lot. It's very cold in Wisconsin. And I said, no, in Bhutan, where I live, it snows only for one day. So I would welcome some snow. But when I went to Wisconsin, it snowed for like 6 months straight, We had constantly had these blizzards. So when I left Wisconsin, I was like, I do not want to see any more snow now. But I think the real education for me began when I actually finished college. And that is when I traveled to India to study Buddhism and Buddhist philosophy. So I lived in a monastery, I lived with monks, nuns, and that really got me in touch with the Buddhist tradition, which is the bedrock of Bhutanese traditions. And that really made me appreciate Bhutan even more. So then I came back to Bhutan, and now like whatever work I do, from talks I give to photography projects I take up to movies that I made and I aspire to make, it's always to do with trying to preserve Bhutanese-ness, in this modern world, letting people experience the shadows.
I feel that too. Like even when I went to went to the continent to go to school, that was when my yearning for Hawaii
yes
increased. And
I think you always have to take a step back.
Yes.
Simon, I'm sorry, because I'm a Bhutanese and Buddhist, so I always go back to these Buddhist examples. We say that, our eyelashes are so close to us, we don't see them.
Right.
So when you are part of your culture, you tend to look past it. So you have to actually take a step back and look from the outside in, and then realize, oh, it's like that, and you become more appreciative. I think that's the same with your case, right?
Yes. We have time for another question. This one is from Facebook. Have your actors viewed the movie in its entirety, and what reactions did you get?
Well, the actors who are from the city, from Thimphu, so like Ugen, Salden, and Michen, they have watched the movies. And actually, when we made the movie, we also really wanted, when we casted these actors, they have never been out of Bhutan. They have not seen the outside world. So our intention was also to let them make this movie, but also experience what the outside world is like. So the 3 actors, they traveled with me to London for the world premiere. Then they traveled to Cairo, to Busan. So it was, a amazing journey for them, not only making the film, but to see the outside world. The actors in Lunana, what I was planning and what I had promised them was that after the movie is made, everything is done, we would actually come back to Lunana. And, we have left all our solar battery chargers in Lunana. And what we were going to do was, that last scene in the movie where the children dance around with the backdrop of the majestic mountains, we were going to have a screening of the movie there. And for the children to experience, because all these people, they have never made a movie, they don't know what cinema is. We constantly, for 2 months, we said, okay, you know what, just do your thing and tell your story to that black box over there. So they had no idea what we were doing. So for them to actually see the finished product, I think it'll be very amazing. And we were planning to do that, but unfortunately, because of the pandemic, Bhutan went under lockdown and we couldn't go up. So I think it'll be very amazing. It'll be a full circle, for them to see, okay, this is, Simon, everyone in Lunana is oblivious to the fact that their story is going all around the world, touching hearts.
I wonder about that for our small community. If our community stories got put on film, would they? Well, how would they react to that? I don't I don't know if okay, the cinematography was stunning. Do you plan to collaborate with Jigme, the DP again?
Actually, Simon, Jigme is my cousin, and yeah, we grew up together. We are the same age, and so ever since we were little boys, we grew up together, and definitely, I see him not only as a fellow crew member, a family, but also like someone that I depend on, someone I learn from, because this is my directorial debut, and he is a professionally trained cinematographer. So a lot of times I'm leaning on him for guidance and support. So definitely, I think Jigme's done an amazing job with this movie with the limited resources we had, because shooting a film on solar powered batteries is very, very challenging. We had no like light source. When we got up there, we didn't even know if the camera would work, and with all that, I think he was able to shoot a very, very beautiful movie. Going back to shooting with the limited resources, he only had one camera. So, being that remote, our worry was always what happens if that camera breaks, then we are stuck.
Yeah. Wow. That's that is incredible. There's some shots in there where like even that opening shot where you see her back and you hear the voice and that wide mountain range, and then you slam it into urban Bhutan.
Yeah,
right after.
Simon, actually, when we were planning to make this movie, it was a very conscious decision between me and Jigme that when Ugin is going through this journey, when he is, like you said, this, a very selfish man in the beginning, we wanted the shots to be very tight. It was handheld, it was shaky, and we wanted the audience to feel that. And as he was starting to develop this clarity and this, as he discovered his role, we then go more wide, and then the camera went on sticks. And so I think the audience then also feels the journey. They feel like they're part of that.
And stuff you can map it. Okay. Do you think that he finished his homework? That when he leaves, I think Sultan says like, "Oh, sing like the
sing like the cranes."
Yeah, did he achieve that at the end? I think.
For me, definitely, because if he was singing for recognition, for the wrong reasons, he will continue singing "Beautiful Sunday." What he was singing in the bar. Nothing against "Beautiful Sunday." I mean, it's such a nice song, but for Ugin, for his character, the fact that he decides to sing the yak song about the value of yaks and the ice, the glacial waters, and the clean grass and all that in a pub in Sydney, it shows that he is definitely singing like the crane.
There's so much great quotes and just lines from the movie, but one that really stuck out with me was where she describes what that song is. Like she says it's an offering to everyone, to the mountains, to the animals, to the spirits, the gods, and the people. And the film really feels like that kind of offering. Like it's a reflection. It reflects back to us. I think what you said, like trying to capture a story that shows us the sacred within all of us. I really did feel that in watching and rewatching the film.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you. Something that I always tell people is that Lunana is really a film that is unlike, I think, what a lot of people have seen. It comes from a country that is not known much. It is in a language that only like 600,000 people are able to speak it. And it is shot in the world's most remote school. Culturally, linguistically, geographically, it's very, very different from what people are, may find familiar. But what's really touching is that wherever it goes, it really connects with the audience. And I think it reflects that, because a lot of places we have won the Audience Choice Award. And I think that actually it celebrates the beauty of humanity, because we may be politically, culturally, religiously diverse, but at the end we are all, seeking for a place of belongingness, And in a way, Lunana is so diverse, but then in the end, the heart of the movie is this search for a place of belonging. And I feel like that has been able to reach out to people.
Thank you. Thank you. With that, I want to thank you for all of your time and for sharing so much of your story with us.
Thank you so much, Simon.
You're a very generous storyteller. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Thank you.
And mahalo to the audience for you folks' questions. There was a really nice comment that was left in the Q&A box. I wanted to let you know, so in case.
Okay.
Please read it. Pawo, yeah, but aloha, Anna. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Aloha.
Thank you so much.
Aloha again. Thank you so much, Pawo, and thank you so much, Simon, for this really, really beautiful discussion today. I just want to, extend another special mahalo to our speakers today, to the Hawaii Council for the Humanities, including Aiko, Liz, and Shannon, who have worked so hard on this program. And again, also to all of our sponsors, HIFF Ohana members, and board of directors who help HIFF happen. Just some housekeeping bits before we get go. This discussion will be archived on our HIFF Facebook page, so please feel free to share with your friends and family. You can send them to the HIFF Facebook page to watch the discussion. It will also be available directly in the watch.hiff.org streaming app as a bonus feature on the Lunana listing, so you can watch it straight in app there. If for by chance you have not already watched this film, please do. It's a really incredibly beautiful film. And please check out some of our other Film for Thought program films this year. We do have 2 more discussions coming up on Thursday and on Sunday. So you can find the full information on those at hiff.org. A big mahalo to everybody here. Thank you for being a part of this conversation, and have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Thank you.